Welcome back once again, everybody. I'm Dean for My Progress, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 most common reasons that a PhD application might get rejected. Before we jump into that content, however, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let me know if there's any other considerations down in the comment section that I might have missed. So this video is mostly applicable for master's students or people looking to start towards their PhD journey, and hopefully it might also have some credibility for early career academics who are looking to take on their first PhD student. We've all been in that position where we're really excited to join a PhD program. We're looking for a program where we think that our research ideas might fit, and also within a university or institution that has a supervision package that can really help to develop us as early career academics or researchers in our own rights. But the biggest hurdle is putting together our PhD application. And this is where, sadly, we see lots of students start to falter. So to begin, the first reason that a PhD application might get rejected is that your core idea is not fully developed. What we mean by this is that it might be that you're only focused on a particular research area and you don't fully know, or you're not aware of what exactly you want to do within that remit. You might have lots of ideas that are sparking conversations left, right, and center, but there's no coherent factor about what it is precisely that you want to get out of your PhD program. What is the core piece of knowledge that you want to derive from your research? And what is the overall story that your PhD is going to tell? Now, of course, we know that these ideas develop, and as they should do, throughout the entire PhD journey, but it's really useful from the outset to be starting to think about some of the theoretical frameworks that you might be working with and how they might be used to start to chip away at some of this core knowledge of interest in your area and topic. I think from my experience, lots of students have some very broad ideas, but the PhD process is about tapping into a very specific and narrow niche within that broader topic. So that's a useful time for you to start identifying where your niche lies. This then moves us on to the second reason that a PhD application might fail, and that is that your PhD studies aren't fully delineated, or at least fleshed out in a way that maps directly onto answering this overarching question. Typically, especially in psychology research, we like to put together 3 or 4 independent research studies, which when you look at them all together, start to answer independent and individual elements of that overarching research question. You might have one research study coming at it from a biological angle, another research study trying to answer that same question from a cognitive angle. You might have a third study which looks at public perceptions of a particular phenomenon. And then you might have a fourth study which might be deriving some sort of intervention looking to change the elements that you've identified as being key to predicting a certain outcome. Now, by no means are your reviewers looking for you to have a very specific idea of everything that you're going to be doing over the next 3 years. Of course, after your first study, it might be that your second and third studies change. But one thing that they will be looking for is that your PhD is not based or cruxed on one particular research study working out. As a reviewer, I would say, well, what happens if that pinnacle research study doesn't work? What happens if you can't recruit for it? Because if not, you're then left with 3 or 4 other research studies as part of that package, which just aren't attainable, which just won't work because your first research study didn't work. And as such, I would endorse you not to funnel yourself into a narrow corner. You want to have that story being told from multiple angles, which doesn't rely on the success of a single research study. If you are making any specific choices within these research study outlines, however, you do need to be able to be prepared to defend some of your arguments. For example, if you are sure that you're using measure X to measure a certain element of personality, try to have some justification in the back of your mind when questioned, why do I want to use that scale, or why do I want to use that particular behavioural measure? Moving on to look at a third reason that a PhD application might fail. Where is the novelty and impact of your research ideas? Yes, you want your program of research to help contribute some knowledge in a particular direction, But what is the single take-home message that you're going to be providing? What is that novel and unique contribution of knowledge that you hope to derive from undertaking this 3-4 year PhD program? This is really important because it gets your reviewers excited. It shows them what you're going to be producing at the end of your PhD. Is it a new measure? Is it a new behavioral task? Is it a new piece of knowledge that might have the potential to impact policy? If you can show your reviewers that even at this stage of your career, your work and the knowledge that you're going to generate from it can bring about impact and changes to other people's lives, that will be looked so favorably upon in your PhD application. Remember that one of the core metrics for awarding a student a PhD in the first place is that ability to have that unique contribution of knowledge. If you know what that will be from the outset, it can only further help you start to frame your studies and start to argue your position when asked. The fourth reason a PhD application might fail, and this for me is one of the big ones, is that your research is not logistically viable. Either you might be needing to use machinery or technology which the university or you don't have access to. You might be looking to research on a particular demographic or part of society which you don't have access to. That's going to be a huge decision maker for that university, because one of the hurdles that they put in place for getting you on a PhD program is that your work is going to be logistically viable. You might have a fantastic idea, you might have all of your studies mapped out, but if you can't show that you have access to that software, that hardware, or that population, then ultimately you might not be the right person to undergo that research at this particular time. So you need to be thinking, how can I show the committee that I do have access to these populations? How can I show the committee that I can generate funding to purchase that piece of software? These are really important factors to consider when trying to argue your position at a particular institution. And 5, and my opinion, the most important, you yourself might not be in the best position at the minute to start undertaking a PhD. As a supervisor, but also as a panel member, I'll be looking to make sure that I do my due diligence that you are ready to undertake a PhD. How will the PhD be funded? Are you aware of some of the deeper commitments? Do you have aspects in your life which might be holding you back from being able to do your best work? It can sometimes feel quite disheartening for a PhD student to be told that they're not actually at the right place, that they might benefit from further education or further training, but in particular areas. But it's vitally important that students enter their program at the right time for themselves. Now, obviously, there's never a perfect time for us to do anything in our lives, but it's important that we don't set students up to fail and that they're in a position where they can achieve to their maximum potential. So those are my top 5 reasons why a PhD application might sadly fail. But remember that none of those elements that I've spoken about today are things which will hold you back indefinitely. Hopefully, I'm giving you enough notice now to think, actually, yes, my current application is not specific enough in terms of theory. Yes, I need to work on my studies to make it clear why they're contributing to a particular outcome. I don't have this piece of software. Is there an alternative way that I can measure that? Or can I crowdfund or find funding to install that software within the university? And also, is this the right time for me in my life to undertake a PhD? Or should I take a year or 2 out, get a little bit of financing underneath me so that I can come into that institution and deliver that novelty and impact that they're looking for within that PhD program? I've been Dean as always. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and in the comments down below, let us know if we've missed out any hints or tips that you'd like to offer to other potential PhD students. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.